All right, yep, both windows popped out. Just need to remove my mini blind brackets that I've got mounted on the inside, because all this is going to be replaced. I'm going to replace this Luan floor with it's aluminum frame with foam in the middle, but the the top and the bottom panels are Luan, and those are going to be replaced. So all this will be replaced, new rubber roof, new walls, everything. So I'll grab my measurements off that existing slide out and start drawing out the new walls. This side actually looks pretty good. This was toward the front of the truck, the front of the camper, and it's all dry. There's nothing, there's no damage on this side at all. On the inside, there's a tiny little bit right there that has some water intrusion, but very little. That's just where that one screw came in. But on this other side, of course, the floor, but I don't think it was leaking from the floor. It was leaking on this front corner all the way down. It's all rotten wood in there. That part's really bad right there, up in that corner. So, I don't know if you can see that or not. Both of these screws are really rusted out. There and there. This one was pretty good. All this trim will be saved and just resealed on the new slide out room. And these are the screws from this side, the bad side. All that water damage back there just rotted these screws out. So this is the front side top of the slide out, exactly 20 inches, and that's to the outside of that front wall, because that front wall insets. It insets on the slide out walls. 21 inches exactly. On the bottom, the width is 75 inches. It's actually 74 7/8 for the width at the top. I'm sure it's the same at the bottom. Outside to outside, again 74 7/8 for the width at the bottom. So this won't matter too much, but from the inside of the floor to where the window cutout starts is 33.5 inches. I can place those windows pretty much anywhere I want on the new slide out, but they'll go approximately in the same location, maybe down just a little bit. Might put them at like 30 inches. And then without the overlap on the exterior pylon for that front face wall, we are at 19 3/4 for the wall width at the bottom. Now I gotta get this trim off. And then for the ceiling, 18 3/4 at the top. Just a 1 inch difference, so it's on a 1 inch taper. Wraps over the edge there and up over the top of the main face wall here. And when that wall is up, there's nothing but that bracket, and the rubber just slopes up to the top part of this. So it slopes up, and that basically just allows the rainwater or any moisture to fall off of the drip edge. So these side walls butt up against the ceiling. So the ceiling is full width, and then these side walls butt up against the ceiling from the bottom part of the floor. So the actual side wall height is 57 1/4. So when I build the sidewalls, I'm going to build them 57 1/4 high, and they'll butt up to the bottom of this ceiling panel. The window cutouts are 20, so 20 inches high by 14 inches wide. One other thing to note, when I took these side trim pieces off from these top sides of the slide out, there's no sealant on the back side. And if you're doing this, and this is what I'm going to do, when you go to reinstall these, use some butyl tape or some type of sealant on the inside here. Butyl tape is super inexpensive. Just run a strip across there, run the screws in, seal the screws, and then then you can run your bead of sealant around the edges there. But I do think that having butyl tape back there will help with any water intrusion getting back behind these strips of aluminum. Something else interesting I found, got the slide out on its side. So this is the bottom of the floor of the slide out, and you can see where the gears of the Happy Jack slide out mechanism were running into the floor, and these holes are about 1/4 of an inch deep in that luan on both tracks. So I'll have to figure out, put some spacers in there or something, get it up off the floor some. All this will be, both of these panels will be replaced with those composite panels on the inside floor and on the exterior. You can see how these walls are fastened to the floor just with some wood screws going into this aluminum. This aluminum is pretty thin. You can see, at least they've got it, jammed with wood, but when I go to rebuild this, on these outside pieces, I will insert a 90-degree Simpson tie on these walls as well, and I can do it on this side too. I'll just have to just thin the thickness of the Simpson tie is only about 3/16 of an inch, not even that, 1/8 of an inch I think, and I'll just route out a little area for the Simpson tie to go. That way it's fastened with steel to the floor, and of course I'll use the anti-corrosion gel on all those joints. I think that'll just make for a stronger slide out room. There's a lot of forces being pushed on those walls when you run the slide out and then back in, especially if you use your road locks. You've got all that pressure, and every time you go around a corner over a bump, that puts a lot of pressure on those slide out walls. So having those Simpson ties, those brackets on the top and bottom, will really help out. All kinds of rotten goodness on this bottom panel. This is that corner, that bottom rear corner. Look at all that. Good stuff. All right. Get your tetanus shot. All right, so I got the screws out of that side. I'm going to pull these screws out here. It's 4. I'm holding this wall together, and that wall will come apart. And down here, look at all that. Right down to the foam. So that's the foam right there. It's all rotten. This is the top part of the front of the slide out, and on this exterior pylon, it does extend out. This is where the wall ends, actually. The sidewall structure ends here, but the pylon extends out so it can cover the ceiling portion of the joint. So it's basically just a butt joint, and they're screwed together using these screws, but the pylon extends all the way up to the top of the ceiling. And then again, another small extension from where this sidewall, or where this face wall goes in. That's for the top part, because it actually extends up above the ceiling wall just a little bit, and that's where you get that slope for the rubber roof. The bottom part of the face wall extends out 1.25 inches. So that's this little piece of pylon here is covering that lower edge on this bottom wall, and then the top edge on that wall. All right, so we're left with the floor, and there's a sidewall and the ceiling and the other sidewall. Let me show you the amount of delamination on this sidewall. This was the sidewall that was toward the back, toward the rear. So just as I suspected, it's just the pine frame, and then there's one pine brace going through the center, and then all the rest is just foam. That is 1-inch foam on the ceiling. So when I rebuild this ceiling, I'll probably do, split that in half, put a brace, and then we'll have the center brace, and then we'll split it in half again and have a brace there as well. Because they don't put very much bracing in here, any cross bracing. Yeah, it's just foam all the way to the center, one brace. This brace, pine brace going through from here to there. This was the rear top corner of the slide out ceiling. Looks to me like that's insect damage to me. All right, so on this side wall, they've got foam, and then they doubled up some strips of wood, about 12 inches up, 14 inches up. So we'll do the same there, beef this section up, and then of course you beef it up under the window cutout and above the window cutout. That's all wood up there, no foam. This is all wood, no foam. And then there's wood, and then a foam panel, wood strip here, and then this foam panel, wood strip on the bottom. Strip of wood, fiberglass insulation tucked in that small gap, and then another strip of wood around where so they frame in the window. Same thing up top here, 2 strips of wood. So depending on where I'm going to do my window placement, this will just be wood, or if I drop it down a little bit, there'll be a doubled up strip of wood small strip of foam, and then another strip of wood to frame in the window. So just to confirm here, 1 inch thick foam on the side walls and the ceiling. Ceiling, 1 inch thick foam. So here's the ceiling, 1 inch thick. So the actual walls are 1 1/4 inch thick, or 1 5/16 inch thick. 1 inch thick foam in the center. And of course the bracing material is 1 inch thick also. So the pine, I'm going to probably use Baltic birch, some type of marine plywood. Be a little bit heavier, but I feel better framing that up with something that's going to withstand the moisture a little bit better than pine. Brush everything down with some epoxy or some type of waterproofing, but I think the route I'm going to take is Baltic birch plywood for all the framing part, and then foam, 1 inch foam in the middle. So 1 inch foam in the middle on the ceiling and on the side walls. Those little panels that are on the underneath of the camper on the shoulder, those are 3/4 inch thick because that whole panel is just 1 inch. So I guess that's it for today. Got everything torn apart and drawn up, or at least all the dimensions taken. And I'll get to build the new slide out, get the walls and the ceiling built, and get this floor. There's the old floor. Get that floor torn apart and get the fiberglass panels glued down and screwed down to that on both the interior and exterior, and get the walls and the ceiling of the new slide out framed into it, screwed down and glued down with those Simpson ties, the angle brackets, and yeah, one more step down. We'll just keep moving. So we'll catch you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching. Later.